If you want to skip to the end and see the photos and hear my conclusion about Arista 100 4x5, that's cool, totally understand. Just do me a solid, leave a like and a comment, and maybe subscribe too, just so that YouTube doesn't punish me for you wanting to save time. No problem. Let's get into it. Arista 100 4x5, one of the cheapest 4x5 films that you can get. I got a box of 25 sheets for $35 right here in Chicago at Central Camera, and that's $1.40 for every sheet. Now compare that to something like the box of 50 sheets of Kodak T-Max 400, which I got for $180 with tax. That's $360 for every sheet. Arista 100 4x5 is less than half the price of T-Max 400. But should you even shoot it? By the way, there are also Arista 200 and Arista 400 in 4x5 format, and from what I understand, Arista films are the same thing as Fomapan. This video is a little bit vlog style, and I'll show you 4 examples of photos. I'll show the photos at the end, and 2 of them are portraits with flash lighting, and the other 2 are landscapes, so I can show you both as far as sharpness and grain goes. And without spoiling the conclusion at the end, there is one major flaw about this film that's going to prevent me from using it for more serious work, but I'll explain that in the end, because there is a reason to use Arista 100, 200, 400 in 4x5 format.
Yeah, geez,
Okay. Okay.
Right?
Oh my god.
Oh yeah.
Feel free to include yourself in it. You know, if at any point you want to be part of this, just turn the camera around.
The people that care showed up early.
Hey,
Yeah.
this is my
Hey, what's up, you guys?
Hey, what's up, you guys?
Once I set the focus right, you can't move, okay? And I'm good. I thought I messed that up for a second. Alright, ready? 3, 2, 1.
No, he hasn't got it.
Perfect. That's it.
So it's at his
We
home
got
in
it.
the suburbs.
That was
Like,
it?
That was it. Woo! It's a beautiful morning, and right over there, that's where I'm gonna go take a picture. I'll be right back, CK. Bye. If you lost your shrimp, I found it. It's over here. The sand looks white today. You know, seeing this and the beautiful colors in the sky right now. Goodness gracious. I really wish I would have brought some Portra 400 out here. The weather app says it's 12 degrees out here, but it feels like 3. And my face is saying it's 12 degrees out here, but it doesn't feel like anything. I'll be here all week. This is crazy. That's what it looks like over here. Look how dark and scary it looks over there. See, this is why I trekked all the way out here, is because there's a perfect spot right here. I'm taking a digital photo of this before. Let me show you. So using this fence here, you can frame the city pretty nicely. It's small, but I like it. You know, when it's 12 degrees out here, these photography gloves are really handy. It's like a little cap your fingers when you don't need them, and pop your little piggies out when you need them. Let's just take a moment to appreciate how low this tripod gets. That's crazy. I love that. Light meter's telling me that at f11 I should shoot my Arista 100 at 1/250th. I kind of think I'm gonna go with 1/125th, just to be sure. I knew I wanted to get the photo of like in between these kind of fence whatever things, I don't know what to call them, of the skyline perfectly framed within that, but I don't know what to do with the second sheet. I need to have 4 sheets to develop so that I'm not just wasting my chemicals. I think I'll just walk around and see what inspires me. Okay, I found what inspires me. I like this bench, this tree, and I like the skyline with the background and all of that. And I really wish I would have brought some color film out here because it's so serene and quiet and ooh, so many different colors right now, but that's okay. We're here to test Arista 100. Just did some light metering. We're gonna do f22 1/30th, which should overexpose it by about 1 stop, but also I think it might be the correct exposure for the shadows, especially considering the fact that I'm shooting a backlit tree and bench, so I'm excited for this one. Again, I wish I had this in color, but that's not the point of this video. Arista 100, cheap 4x5, black and white. Yeah, I've been out here for like an hour, maybe an hour and a half. Still 12 degrees, still feels like 3. I'm ready to go take a hot shower. Let's look at some of the images. This first one here is of my friend Sydney. We did a little belated birthday photo shoot for her. Also, here are some of the digital images that I took of her. They're awesome. The theme was 17 magazine. We've made like a fake magazine cover for each of the 3 roommates. Sydney was the 3rd one to get it, and so we thought let's do a fake 17 magazine cover, which this totally fits that vibe. But as far as the portrait goes that I took on the 4x5 camera and Arista 100, it looks pretty great. I mean, the lighting is nice, of course, and that helps. The posing was great. She was comfortable with me in front of the camera, which obviously for any model is going to make the photo better. But where it starts to get iffy is when you zoom in, because when you look at her face, you can see there it's tack sharp. I nailed the focus, but look at all the little specks everywhere. She doesn't have dandruff. That's not dandruff. It's just specks of the film. It's everywhere, especially in the less exposed parts, you know, all over her shirt and pants, and you can see it less on her hands, but I mean, it's literally everywhere. And that's just like, you know, I saw that when I did the scan of this one first, and I thought maybe I just didn't dust my negatives right, just a ton of dust, which I've never had before. But this carries through to the other images. Let me show you the second image I took here. Again, I used flash to light this. I mean, I was using 100 ISO film in their totally dark apartment, and I mean, the flash looks great. I think the lighting is really like dramatic and nice. But by far, of all the 4 images that I'm showing you in this video, this one was the least exposed of the bunch. And so when you zoom in, again, the issue of like, they're perfectly in focus, especially Olivia, just nailed the focus on Olivia. But the specks, it's not even dust, it's grain, right? It's an insane amount of grain, but not in a pleasing way, in my opinion. Again, I mean, we don't want them to look like they have dandruff. Nobody wants to look like they have dandruff, but it's everywhere. It's pretty consistent too. So when you're looking at this, I mean, sure, from a distance, and let's even go a little further out, from a distance, no problem. That's a lovely image. I mean, they're gonna cherish that hopefully for the rest of their lives. I mean, just roommates pick, and they were roommates. But the dust, it's not an issue when you're posting your images on social media, but it's definitely an issue if you intend to make it a print that's any size larger than like 8x10. I think even 8x10 would not super work with this. Let's look at the third image. That was the first one from that morning where I was out in the snow and taking pictures. Yeah, this is a lovely image. I kind of wish I would have shot this at like f22 or f32 and then added some tilt to get everything a little more in focus, but it was really cold and I wasn't thinking straight. It's nice regardless. The framing is just kind of cool. But the same issue shows up here. Even though this is a very bright image, the dust, not the dust, like the grain is everywhere. It's all over this post. I mean, even in the snow, it's everywhere, and I don't love that. Again, this will look totally fine on social media, even on a screen. It looks fine until you zoom in. So will I ever make a print of this? Probably not. And will I go through and spot heal all of the dust, all those little specks on this image? No, I mean, there are hundreds. I'm not gonna go through and do that. And finally, the fourth image here of the bench, the tree, and the skyline. Again, it's a pleasing looking image. It's nice. And it's especially special to me because I always take a walk around there. But the same issue, you zoom in and there's just specks everywhere. You know, even in the snow, and I don't think this was dust, by the way. Even the black specks, I think that was also part of, like, the emulsion was just spotty. I know it's Arista 100 is supposed to be a bit of a grainier film. Things are pretty sharp. This here, like this kind of fringing, that's just my fault for a bad scan. But for the parts that were fine, I mean, they were pretty sharp. Here's another thing to note. I did notice while going through and doing dust removal of the actual dust in the image that the negatives tend to be a little scratchy. You can see that here. I forgot to adjust it here. It's a little scratchy. There were a couple of these scratches here. Not a huge deal in my opinion. They were really tiny and easy to get rid of, but again, they're also so small that, like, I forgot that. So what's my conclusion about Arista 100 4x5 or any of the Arista 4x5 films? They are great for experimenting and not great for if you plan to make large prints out of your work, which, you know, if you're shooting 4x5, you should make large prints out of your work. Use it for when you're learning how to nail focus with your aperture wide open for portraits. Use it to learn how to do tilt and get your whole landscape image perfectly in focus. Use it to play around with flash. Use it for experimenting. But if you're gonna need to make large prints of your work, don't use Arista. It's not for that. Now let's say you present your work entirely through social media. Arista 100 could be a great way to do that. I thought the contrast was pretty solid. It could have been punchier. I think like T-Max 400, HP5 are both more contrasty, but there are ways to bring it out in Lightroom and Photoshop. It did a pretty good job of rendering the clouds. I overexposed most of the images by at least one stop, and there was a lot of range going on there. I think it did a decent job of handling that. So again, for social media, it's awesome. You're not gonna see all those specks everywhere, but it's easier to experiment with film if you're not worried about the major cost of, you know, $5 to $10 per sheet, depending on what you're shooting, how you get developed, whether you scan yourself, all of those factors. If you're not already subscribed, I'd love to have you subscribe. I'm at just under 700 right now, and I'd love for you to be a part of my first 1,000 subscribers in my second year of doing YouTube. I really hope this was helpful, and if because of this video you decide to go out and get a box of Arista 100, 200, 400 and shoot 4x5 on it, please tag me in those photos that you post on Instagram, or just like come back here and leave a comment saying, hey, I shot it, here was my experience. It would just make me happy. I'd love to see that. Regardless, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Oh, by the way, I shot this video on a vintage lens, a Fujinon, what did I use? My 55mm at f2.8. It can go down to 1.8. So if I was out of focus at any point, that's why.